The David Pakman Show at davidpakman.com.
Welcome to the show. Great show today. We're going to talk to a former Fox News reporter who's going to tell us, hopefully he will be forthcoming. I hope he will tell us everything that goes on behind the scenes as far as the incredible right-wing conservative bias we have come to know and love on Fox News. That's coming up later today. We're live on YouTube. Hi to everyone who's watching live, including everybody who came over from the I Love It When I Wake Up in the Morning and Barack Obama is President Facebook page, as well as the Too Informed to Vote Republican Facebook page. We've been talking about drones for a long time on this program, and one of the things we've talked about is how we are still waiting for the legal justification that the White House claims it has for drone warfare, including the use of drone strikes on Americans who have not been charged or convicted of any crime who are living abroad. And we finally now, thanks to NBC News, we have a Justice Department memo which essentially reveals the legal case for drone strikes on Americans and others around the world. And I say essentially because the memo is not an actual legal document in the sense that it is not the formal legal document that is presented in a court setting or a legal setting of any kind. It is a memo, though, that outlines the perception from the administration about what they are doing, how they determine who is okay to drone strike, so on and so forth. So I think I've made that distinction clear, right, Lewis?
I think so.
So what does this say? This is a 16-page memo. It's available online if you Google it. It's been obtained by NBC News, and it says a lot of interesting things. And one of the things that is interesting is the lack of definition for the terms that are used to evaluate when a drone strike is okay. So let me give you an example of what I mean. The idea of an imminent threat. Okay, if you look at the document, and it's only 16 pages. If you care about this stuff, I encourage you to look at it because it's really, it'll take you, I don't know, 15, 20 minutes to look over, and it'll really give you a sense for what is the case here that is being made by the administration and how they're thinking about these drone strikes. The idea that if there is an imminent threat, it is okay to conduct a drone strike. The term imminent is used, and it actually says that, number one, imminence is not defined, but number two, that the imminence of a threat only has to be mentioned. In other words, the government can say, we believe that there is an imminent nature to this threat without having to define imminent or even to justify what in particular makes someone an imminent threat. It's wide open, Louis.
Right, like Iraq was an imminent threat.
Right.
We believe they have weapons of mass destruction. We consider them an imminent threat.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Also, it says that an informed and high-level official of the U.S. government may determine that the targeted American has been recently involved in activities posing a threat of a violent attack. Let's look at that, Lewis. I mean, this is incredible. An informed and high-level official of the U.S. government. Subjective. Who determines if they're informed? Who determines if they're high-level? They could determine that the American has been recently involved. What is recent? Doesn't say. In activities that pose a threat. What activities qualify, Lewis? I don't know. And that it would be a threat of a violent attack. What constitutes an attack being violent? It's completely wide open. And what we basically see here, this is actually, even though this gives us insight into what the administration sees as the guidelines under which drone strikes can be done, it actually is shocking in the sense that it shows that the entire thing is completely subjective and just left up to the interpretation of almost anyone. Anybody who is informed and high level could say that an attack is imminent because of recent, how recent, we don't know, activities, what activities, we don't know, pose a threat, what kind of a threat, we don't know.
And if afterwards it turns out that this high-level official was misinformed and that the American killed posed no threat, then oh well.
As we know has happened, Natan. Natan, what's your thought about this memo, and what does this say to you?
It just says that this issue is going to only get more and more visible in the public eye, and there's probably going to be either lawsuits or congressional hearings to try to get to the bottom of whether, even if you agree that the president or that the country as a whole should have the authority to do this, whether it's correct for the executive branch to have full authority to do this secretly without the approval of even any congressional leaders. So there's going to be at least some sort of backlash from this that results in more hearings.
Don't you have to assume that the people in question, the government would rather have the people in question alive in terms of information gathering and who they might be working with and things of that nature? I mean, is it really going to come down to, well, we're not going to be able to get to this guy in time. We have to drone strike his apartment, his house, whatever. I mean, it seems like a very rare situation.
Well, there's one other aspect, which is that anything but a drone strike would be cumbersome or would take too long or could lead to even more civilian casualties than the ones we've been seeing with the drone strikes. And again, by civilian casualties, I understand that some of the people targeted are also civilians. Like, for example, when the farmer was farming at night, which is done in Pakistan sometimes, and he was assumed to have been burying a bomb and he was the victim of a strike. He was killed.
Right.
You're absolutely right that there's just so many questions here that are being left unanswered. We're going to keep following this, but this is at least one piece of information that we can at least get some insight into what the thought process is.
I guess it's not that helpful, though.